But welcome everybody. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to hit the subscribe button.
I remember in middle school when you felt self-conscious if you were the last one to go through puberty. That really went topsy-turvy, didn't it?
Sometimes the Hasbara, it's too much explaining yourself and it's too apologetic.
Be sure to hit the notifications bell.
I actually do believe Israel won't just bomb countless civilians.
Be sure to tweet this out. Be sure to put this up on your Facebook.
You have to be kind to people. Being kind is the guys in this mess in the first place.
Put this up on your Reddit.
Chile is a country.
Be sure to cut and paste, a link to this to go into your favorite Facebook chat group.
It's good to see so many normal people in here.
Now, spanking isn't just my deep, dark personal secret. It's America's deep, dark secret.
I've never seen it explained so simply anywhere.
Put this on WhatsApp. Put this on Telegram. Put this on your favorite messenger app.
Hello, and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. I'm your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull called Elise. And, well, if you missed yesterday, just to catch you up, we started to watch a little bit of Ana Transphobian's visit to ghoulish asshole Bill Maher, and which I've seen a little bit of coverage of on the Vanguard and a couple of other places because of the bit where he compares her to J.K. Rowling and clearly means it as a compliment, which does say quite a lot about both of them. But we saw a bit on stream that I had not actually seen mentioned, and was if anything worse. Bill Maher was talking about how in the midst of the LA fires this past year, Sex Pest Matt Gaetz drove in, past all the fires, risking all, just to go on his fucking show. And he talked about how they just talked until the wee hours, and it was so great, and they talked about how great it was that a couple of guys like them could get together and just talk like people. And I thought, this is really peak symbolism of the time we live in. You have two rich reactionary assholes, one of whom is a sex pest, jerking each other off over how brilliant it is that the two of them can sit and talk about what assholes they are as an entire city burns down around them. That's a little bit on the nose, I would have said, but these days, there's no subtlety. I mean, the universe just gives us this shit just completely OTT. So I thought I'd share that with you. I think that's probably making it into the 2025 highlight roll. And I thought we might continue watching some of that fucking horror show. At least for a little bit. See, I'm going to back it up a little bit, so if you were watching yesterday, you may see some things you already saw.
ZipRecruiter's matching technology moves fast. It finds top talent.
Yeah, here we go.
Stuck in. No, I believed it when I was 12, and I believe it now. Girls have cooties.
Oh yeah, this is Bill Maher, a man who has never shown the slightest inclination to evolve on his all Muslims are evil bullshit, and maybe step away from demonizing roughly a fifth of the world's population. He's talking about how people change. He doesn't, but people do. And he's saying this in the sense that because Ana Transphobian is talking about how she started just openly parroting far-right bullshit, a change that seems to have come around the same time as the Polymarket sponsorship, interestingly.
It's ridiculous. I mean, also, it's okay to change your mind if you won, the policies you want have been implemented, and it turns out the policies suck and you don't like them, right? I mean, it's okay to admit, oh, this didn't work out, let's recalibrate. And that was my big issue with Democrats and California in particular, where it's like, oh, we have done some of these criminal justice reforms.
Yes, and they actually worked really, really well. Although, I mean, and other people have already pointed out just the degree to which that she and Cenk have just outright lied about this stuff on TYT.
And they've been kind of disastrous.
Oh, so much. I mean,
For example, you're going to give us some examples, right?
if I could list just the things that the left has done that they think are helping, that are counter to their own goals.
They're
Like what? Like list one.
literally
That's how
getting
much
people
your head is up your ass. You know, defunding the police.
Okay, like where? What place? What defunding the police? Where exactly?
Well,
Which, you know, like, didn't help
It didn't happen either.
African Americans who usually want more police.
No, I mean, that's also not true. I mean, this is going back on a couple of things that were mentioned yesterday, since we have sort of rolled back. But the polling that is misrepresented to claim that does not actually ask them the question of whether they'd like to actually see the police defunded. It just asks, are you concerned about safety in your neighborhood? And very dishonest journalists and op-ed writers helpfully interpreted that to mean that they want more cops. You know, the idea that maybe part of what they need to be safe from is cops does not actually register.
it's even worse than that.
But
it's even
they
worse than that.
want more police. It's so
No, they don't.
racist. They think they're being anti-racist, and actually it's being very racist to assume that black people, it's saying, well, aren't they the criminals?
No, it isn't. It's saying, aren't they the people that the cops keep murdering and getting it away with? Like, I mean, these motherfuckers are just, like, acting like the last 10 years didn't happen.
Can't have a lot of cops around them. No, they're not.
So a really good friend of mine who does consulting for media, like, would send me polls. And the polls were about, you know, Black Americans and how they feel about policing and what they want. Do they want to defund policing?
I wonder what consultant this is. She doesn't say the name. She doesn't even say who they consult with. But, I mean, the polls actually did not say the thing she's about to say.
Do they want to keep the funding levels the same? Do they want to increase policing? And I was shocked. Poll after poll indicated, no, they don't want to cut funding for policing.
Indicated how? Did they actually ask them that? And they said no?
In fact,
No.
the problem they have with policing is that they don't feel that the police force in their community is doing enough to keep them safe in their communities.
I wonder if that's something to do with the fact that the cops keep harassing and murdering them.
Which is very similar to what was
I'm glad we have Ana Transphobian and Bill Maher on here to tell us what the black community wants, of course.
happening in the 1990s. Like, if you go back and watch local news reports out of LA, for instance, in the 1990s, one of the biggest complaints from, you know, people living in, at the time it was South Central, now it's considered South LA, one of the biggest complaints was, we don't see enough police.
And of course, I mean, if you look at local news reports, local news reports are famous for the fact that their vox pops always provide a representative sample of local opinion. Like, fucking, like, seriously?
Keeping our community safe. And so
You're not talking about your community.
the data is the data. You can't manipulate hard facts.
I mean, you're trying, though.
And for me, when I signed on to criminal justice reform...
When did you ever sign on to it, though? You've been against it all along.
what I thought I was signing on to was we're going to reform our prisons. Our prisons shouldn't be torturing people. Prison rape shouldn't just be accepted, right? I want this to be more than just...
I mean, Bill Maher has actually joked about, and joked supportively about torture.
I want to rehabilitate people. I want to have a situation in which...
So she wanted to have nicer prisons, but not do anything about the fact that cops are just carrying out fucking racist terror all across the country, and they get away with it even when it's caught on film.
They pay the price for their crime, but they're also being rehabilitated so that when they get out, they're able to be productive members of society. We didn't actually do much of that in California. There's one prison that's been reformed, and it's actually showing really great results.
Like, what does that mean, though? It's so great how detailed their examples are. I mean, Bill Maher says, you know, defunding the police really didn't help, did it? And she doesn't go, like, where did they do that, Bill? Because they both know. I'm sure they, I mean, I don't know about Bill Maher. He might know. I get the feeling he doesn't know shit. But I feel like Ana Transphobian probably does actually know that literally there is no example of the police being defunded anywhere in the U.S. Actually, that has not happened. But she doesn't challenge him on it, because they're both, I mean, completely full of shit.
Hope that spreads. But the idea of, oh, we're just not going to punish anyone for pretty much anything is...
where was that implemented exactly?
Not what I thought I was signing up for, but that's pretty much what we've gotten. And preemptively...
What do you mean that's pretty much where we've gotten? Where we've gotten where? Like, give an example. Like, there is no... I mean, in California, there were a couple of things that were enacted. One was to... it did not... Yeah, it was often misrepresented, including, I believe, actually, by Anna and Jenk, as legalizing property crime, which it didn't do, but it did actually remove it from custodial sentences and a couple of other things, which makes sense, because when you're talking about, like, nonviolent property crime, you're talking about people who are fucking starving, trying to survive, for the most part. Or, you're not talking about it, you're talking about something that in a lot of places you would not even prosecute it, because it's not, it is actually more expensive to prosecute it than it is to just deal with the issue, which is that people need stuff that they can't afford because the economy sucks. Because we live in a shitty economic system. But... And then I think there was something about cash bail. I mean, I know there was in New York. What was that? Was there a cash bail? Let me see. Actually, let me see. The California Supreme Court actually eliminated cash bail. This is the first thing I saw. This is when. So that isn't what she's talking about. But, yeah, cash bail reform comes to California and Illinois. Yeah, I mean, and that is just completely based on the idea that people who have not been convicted of anything should not be stuck in jail for months on end, having their complete lives fucked up, when just because they can't afford exorbitant amounts of money in order to post bail. For often when they're facing charges that won't even carry a sentence that is as long as the time they're spending in pretrial custody. So I'm sure we're going to hear about how disastrous these things are. Like, she's going to give some examples, right?
Down, 4 to 5 state prisons without really having a plan in place for what happens to oftentimes, like, violent inmates was a disastrous idea.
That was not actually... That also did not happen.
By Gavin Newsom, to be honest.
I mean, the bizarre, just this bizarre obsession
Mm-hmm.
with putting women, rather men, or at least people with penises.
Oh, you're gonna get me in trouble. You're gonna get me in trouble, Bill. You're gonna get me in trouble.
What?
Oh god. Okay, here we go. Here goes the transphobia.
Hey, there's no trouble for
Because
you.
I'm-
I mean, well, this guy is gonna talk about, like, I mean, he was just bragging about 15 minutes ago in real time about how he had Sex Pest and white nationalist Matt Gaetz over for a chat, and how proud he was that he talked with a white nationalist Sex Pest, being an Islamophobic anti-vaxxer himself. And now he's gonna talk about women's safety.
Life is
Dude,
trouble.
I'm supposed to be totally okay
There's no
with it.
supposed to be. First of all,
Is it bad that I
Well,
don't
okay with what exactly? With trans people existing?
want to see a dick in the women's locker room?
What? How the fuck are you? What are you doing in the women's locker room that you're seeing anybody else's genitals? Like, what women's locker room are you going to that you can actually see anyone else? Like, if you can see somebody else's genitals, they probably should get a restraining order against you.
Is that bad?
no. There's,
Well, yeah, and here's a fucking pro tip just from the seagull to you. How you can avoid seeing any unwanted genitals that do not belong to you when you're in a changing room of any kind, and that is to mind your own fucking business and don't go looking for people's genitals.
I just don't.
Like, is that so hard for Anna? Can she just not help looking? Is she just like sticking her head? God, I don't. Now, I mean, this would make me paranoid about going to any kind of changing room, because, just in California at least, because I might have Ana Transphobian's head sticking up trying to see what's going on.
I don't want to see
And
a
you sh-
cock
and you
in
sh-
the women's locker room.
and you
Well, then don't. Why are you looking?
shouldn't, and no woman should. I mean, this is basic 101, and this is, again, to my point about,
Basic what 101 exactly?
like, if I just listed, and I could do it for a long time, the things that they do because they're so tripped up by their own
The things that they do. Who's they?
Orthodox.
Ideology, that they think that makes them a better person, to be so counterintuitive about all these issues.
Yo, motherfucker, are you talking about counterintuitive?
Like this, that this makes them the good people, that they're way out ahead on this issue.
What do you mean way out ahead? Let's just remember what they're sitting here pretending, and what kind of the entire political class at this point is pretending we're not supposed to remember. Like 6 years ago or so, North Carolina had passed a bill that was going to just ban trans people from public toilets. And the whole thing was so disastrous. Republicans came out against it because they didn't want to be associated with it. The NBA boycotted the state. There was a whole boycott of the state. It was a huge thing. Because actually, there was at that time still no evidence that trans people having access to gender appropriate toilets and changing rooms caused any problems at all, and there still isn't. And people were cool with it, because why wouldn't they be? It doesn't affect them.
And you're not, and it's not what people want, and it goes against human nature.
What human nature? What goes against human nature? Like letting trans people piss?
And it's not helping. You didn't.
Not helping who? It's helping trans people.
Want to champion women, and you didn't. You did the.
You motherfucker, you don't get to talk about who's championing women. This guy has such a long history of just the most openly misogynistic comedy. Like, he has this whole bit that he's done. I've seen multiple versions of it because I used to actually watch his stand-up occasionally, where he talks about how we have a feminized society, and that's a bad thing. And all the bad things about this society are because it's a feminized society. This is Mr. Women's Rights here.
Opposite.
I know, because there's the hierarchy.
You made them uncomfortable
No,
and
100%.
unnecessarily.
Well, you're just talking about. Wait a second. You made them uncomfortable. You're talking about somebody made Ana Transphobian uncomfortable, and therefore we have to, like, ban trans people from public spaces. Except that she hasn't even said that she's had any personal experience, though she has suggested that she is actually kind of a fucking perv.
100%. Look,
in many ways.
when you
In, like, what? What ways?
see everything as a hierarchy, literally everything's a hierarchy, well then,
Well, I mean, we do live in a very hierarchical society.
inevitably you're going to find yourself in a situation where the rights of one group kind of falls by the wayside.
Right. It's a zero-sum game.
Exactly, and I don't
Right.
see it that way.
Well, yes, she very clearly does, though, because if you accept that trans people are what they are, like, the trans people exist, that there are trans women, and they are women, and there are trans men, and there are men, and there are non-binary people, and they are non-binary, then there is absolutely no conflict between trans rights and women's rights, no matter what the far right says, because trans women's rights are also women's rights, you absolute fucking shit goblin.
I respect transgender people.
Yeah, you can tell. I mean, she just got done implying that trans people are fucking exhibitionists. Yeah, she totally respects trans people.
I do not want to treat them like the others.
Yeah, but you're talking about banning them from fucking public conveniences. I'd say that's pretty othering.
I want them to have rights. I want them to
Which ones? You want them to have... I want them to have rights. Like, not all of them necessarily, not necessarily the same ones. She's like, you see the society is so hierarchical. You see the society is so hierarchical. And here I am, I'm willing to grant trans people some human rights. From above, where I'm sitting. As the person who gets to, for some reason, decide what rights other people get to have. Like, wow.
treated with dignity and respect.
Well, except for the bit where trans people should be allowed to fucking use the public toilets.
At the same time, I also know what it's like to be a woman.
So do trans people. It's where trans women know what it's like to be a woman too.
Living in a state where we've decided self-ID makes the most sense.
Yeah, and okay, so you've had an experience, okay, nobody yet has actually given a single example of there being a problem. So, you're gonna say you have actually experienced a problem? Let's hear it.
Okay, well, self-ID doesn't make the most sense.
No.
Why doesn't it? Why doesn't it? Give an example. What problem has it caused you?
Because, obviously, as you and I both know, there are all sorts of predators out there who are going to take advantage of that situation.
No, well, motherfucker, then why is it there's never been any evidence? And why exactly are predators going to have waited... Like, okay, they're willing to risk felony convictions for all sorts of violent shit, but they're worried. They were worried about possibly getting kicked out of the wrong toilet. Like, seriously? If this, just give a fucking example.
It's already happened.
No, it hasn't. We haven't had any examples of it. We've had examples of people like Ana Transphobian engaging in predatory behavior towards trans women in public toilets. That we've had. But we have not had... It hasn't already happened. What she's saying hasn't happened anywhere. There's no evidence of it.
Right, so there was that big Wee Spa story, and it turned out...
that turned out that the Proud Boys made that shit up.
That the so-called transgender woman who was allowed into the women's locker room...
This is like she is literally just regurgitating some bullshit from the Proud Boys at this point. That's what she's doing here, and fucking Bill Maher is here nodding along. I mean, she's no she's no Matt Gaetz, but she does a pretty good fascism.
Korean spa in downtown LA was not actually a transgender person, was a person who had a long record of...
Actually, the person was homeless and had a long record of petty convictions that are very common when you don't have a place to live.
You know, sexual exploitation and assault or whatever.
No, that isn't true.
pretended to be transgender, gets into the women's locker room.
Also not true.
And I felt so bad because I bought the cover story when it was first reported. But
the Proud Boys set her right. I mean, Jesus. Like, really.
I was wrong to buy it. I should have asked more questions. And that...
Well, maybe you should have asked questions of the people who told you that version.
Poor woman, she happened to be a black woman who's complaining.
See, yeah, because Ana Transphobian, she's there for the black community, totally. Especially when it comes to putting more cops on them.
At the front desk of We Spa, she was dragged through the mud, when in reality, she witnessed this person fondling themselves in the women's locker room.
According to the Proud Boys and nobody else.
Now, this person is not transgender. This is not an indictment of transgender people.
Well, then why is it that this means you get to ban trans people from fucking public conveniences? Like, there were already laws to deal with somebody doing this. If the, yeah, like, even accepting this fucking bullshit Proud Boys version of it, there are already laws on the books that you can use to deal with that situation. You don't need to ban an entire group of women from accessing the facilities that are most appropriate for them, because she's so proud she's got one example, and the one example is just some shit made up by Nazis.
It's an indictment of a policy that was not thought through, and as a result, there are women who are going to suffer.
Well, you found exactly one example, and it isn't even true.
And as a result, there are transgender people who are going to suffer
because you're using it in order to incite violence against them, Anna. They're going to suffer because of you. They're going to suffer because you're, like, promoting Nazi propaganda in order to hurt them.
People are going to make the mistake of thinking, oh, well, that guy was transgender, and this is how they behave.
Motherfucker, you were just, a minute ago, we're talking about how if you allow trans people access to public toilets and locker rooms, that you will be seeing everybody's genitals. Like, that doesn't sound... like, you were doing that thing that you were saying is just a mistake.
This is not how they behave. We need to be smarter about these policies. It's that simple.
What do you mean? What do you mean be smarter about these policies? Like they're.
No, good to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, as somebody who is not in any way affected by any of this, it feels really good to be validated.
Really good. I did not expect that.
Really?
Well, how did he not expect that? Like, of course he fucking expected that. Because anyone who's paid any attention to her at all in the past year has come to expect this.
In general, you're a lot more reasonable than I thought you would. The fire breathers, are always trying to...
I mean, if we start talking about Gaza, I think you're going to disagree with me, probably. That's probably where we'd have the most disagreement. But in terms of...
Ugh. Yeah, I mean, isn't it terrible that somebody... Yeah, she's going to pretend to care about the genocide.
The transgender issue.
Well, maybe later.
Well, I mean, maybe they can bond over the fact that Israel has undoubtedly killed at least some trans people in Gaza.
Maybe later.
I
mean, they'd both be cool with that.
I will definitely carve you into little pieces on that one.
I don't know about that, Bill.
Okay.
God, I mean...
I don't know about that.
But on this one, first of all...
They found a genocide they can agree with. They can agree on. Isn't it cute?
For saying that... I say it all the time. It's no shame to say, oh, I believe the cover story.
Yeah.
Because the cover story just means that everybody has their own narrative. Nobody pursues the truth on either side.
He fucking Libra the scales here. No, he's just he wants the truth. He's equally he's equally critical of both sides.
You have
the people who are against racism on the one hand, and the people who are against transphobia on the other.
Work really hard.
Yes.
But since it's my job, I do. to get the full story. Nobody.
Oh yeah, it's his job to get the full story. Have you gotten to the bottom of whether germs exist, Bill?
Ever prints if you read the New York Times and the New York Post, it's like these two, which is it's just funny to do it because it's
he's gonna say that these are like two different universes, except not on trans people, because they're both promoting the exact same bullshit that Bill and Anna are here promoting.
Oh, I see what you left out. Oh, I see what you
Totally.
I see
I
what
love
you
doing
left
that.
out. It's not that either one of you. Oh, of course, they both lie to a degree, and the New York Post is sometimes just flat out funny in how they do it, but. They just omit.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they do actually just fucking make shit up, like Anna does.
You know, but like you sound like, and I say this as a compliment, J.K. Rowling.
God. Yeah, that tells you a lot about Bill, that he would even think that that's a compliment.
Because this is her thing, and I don't know if you saw her take apart Emma Watson.
No,
See,
I didn't see that.
there's something that was not reported in the New York Times.
Well, that's surprising because the New York Times actually publishes anti-trans propaganda pretty regularly. Like, if this is what he thinks is a pro-trans newspaper,
that I saw, like we don't see that, we don't notice this. This is not worthy of comment, and it was so.
It isn't worthy of comment. Who gives a shit? She whined about the fact that everyone who worked on the original Harry Potter movie has come out supporting trans people, and just being utterly appalled with the fascist bullshit that comes out of JKR's mouth. I mean, why would that be news? Like, she does that every fucking day. Whinging from J.K. Rowling is just a normal thing. That's like rain in Scotland.
Fucking was. And of course, in the New York Post, they loved it. Because J.K. Rowling, brilliant J.K. Rowling. I mean, not that I've ever read Harry Potter. To me,
It's like, so brilliant in what way? He hasn't read her books. He just thinks she's brilliant because she's a bigot?
Children's book, but maybe someday.
Same, yeah.
You know, okay, but
Neither of them have. Okay. But they're sure she's brilliant.
Great one, I'm sure. Got kids reading. But I just love her because, you know, she just says it. And she finally had enough of Emma Watson, who is, you know, super woke and, you know, one of the for idiots, also on things like Gaza. And so, like,
Hey,
you know,
Badger.
Something that her views on Gaza were just as crazy, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, this motherfucker's talking about how you can't just write people off. You can't. I mean, that was the whole thing earlier, the part that we saw yesterday, talking about how you can't just write people off, you know? But when Israel decides they want to exterminate an entire people and just openly brags about it, he's like, yeah, I guess you can see their point. Well, I mean, God, what a piece of shit.
As her views on, you know, on the women thing, and
her views on the women thing.
You know, J.K. Rowling was just unmerciful. She was like, well, you know, this is not an issue for you because when you go into a public bathroom, you have a bodyguard who stands.
Yeah. Well, okay. So so what? First of all, is that actually true? Second of all, there's no evidence of trans people. Trans people have been allowed to go to public toilets officially since 2010 when the Equality Act was enacted. But before that, trans people were, of course, using gender-appropriate public facilities all the time for decades before that. And in all that time, there's literally never been a single case in which that has caused a problem to anybody, actually. So
It's outside the door, you know, and she talked about how, you know, when I was your age, I didn't have all this privilege that you're always so hateful. I was home.
Yes, she did.
Working on the book that made you a star.
Yeah, I mean, in her fucking heritage-listed house. I mean, Caitlin Conrad did a great, just absolutely hilarious and damning video about the fucking working class cred, you know, how supposedly J.K. Rowling knows what it's like to live in poverty because of her supposed humble beginnings. Like, the house she grew up in is heritage listed. It is a National Historic Site. It was worth an absolute fucking bundle at the time, and it's worth millions now. Like, she's never been fucking working class. I mean, she's come very close. She flirted with working classness for a couple of years. That's about it. And she did it, it's worth noting. She did it at a time when the dole in Britain was still unconditional, where all you had to do was sign on and say you didn't have a job, and you would get survival benefits to cover things like your rent and your food and that stuff. So, I mean, and a lot of artists in Britain got they lived on the dole while they were working on getting their big breaks. The Beatles, the Stones, J.K. Rowling, they were all signing on the brew, as they call it in Scotland and in the 6 counties, because you could still. But J.K. Rowling is a very big believer of in kicking the ladder out from under anyone coming after her. So, you know, the Blair government got rid of that sort of unconditional unemployment benefit. Basically destroyed an entire pipeline through which working class people were able to have careers in the arts and other things that have a long incubation period during which you aren't necessarily getting overrun with cash. But now we get to hear about her fucking humble beginnings when she was born into money and awaited her big break on benefits that people can't actually access anymore.
You know, it was she just wasn't having.
I mean, if she had to deal with the benefit system that has existed since Tony Blair got in, she'd be stocking shelves at Tesco right now.
Anymore.
Yeah, you do get to a point where, and I think on a lot of issues, I'm at that point where you're just sick of the BS on both sides, right?
Oh, she's sick of the BS on both sides, don't you know? Both sides. I mean, it's interesting. She seems to be very okay with the BS on one side.
And you want to cut through all of it.
And sometimes that means you just parrot shit that the Proud Boys said.
Honestly, you're never going to get to the truth if you're only relying on partisan media. And that's what I was doing. I was very much in a bubble. I didn't realize I was in a bubble. So now...
Yeah, well, now she listens to nonpartisan sources like the Proud Boys.
Like, I have to eat my vegetables. To me, eating vegetables as someone who works in media is reading and consuming content that you know is going to make you uncomfortable.
But what the fuck does that even mean? Like, there's lots of content that is going to make you uncomfortable. That doesn't mean that it's informative content. This content actually makes me fucking squirm, because both of these people make my skin crawl. They are both absolutely shitty people. They are not informative. I am not learning anything from this except just how fucking deep Ana Transphobian has been willing to sink, which I guess is informative in a sense. Like, the idea that you are getting the information you need if you're getting it from, but only if the media that you get it from makes you uncomfortable in some way. That's not how that works. That doesn't guarantee that you're getting accurate information. It just means you're getting stuff that you find uncomfortable. And, like, I would imagine in her case, like, anything that has a black person in it makes her pretty uncomfortable.
Because it's going to challenge what your preconceived notions are. If you're listening to a podcast...
But again, like, challenge which preconceived notions? You know, like, is it good for you to read flat earth propaganda? Is it good for you to read the sort of anti-vax bullshit that Bill Maher is into? That is challenging the preconceived notions of people who believe in facts. Yeah, she was ignorant, but now she knows transphobia. Like, I mean, this is her
The truth never makes me uncomfortable.
Well, that is, if the truth never makes you uncomfortable, though, like, I mean, everything I just said, that's actually such a great line to follow up, because it allows me to say, if the truth never makes you uncomfortable, it never once makes you uncomfortable, then you probably are not being exposed to it. Because sometimes it is going to make you uncomfortable. Like, I mean, for example, if you're at all a decent person, and you've managed to bullshit yourself into thinking that nothing bad is going on in Gaza, that there isn't any kind of genocide going on, then looking at the facts should make your fucking innards melt. It should make you extremely uncomfortable. It should make you feel like you need to spend the next 5 years in a shower. Or to just wash the scum off of you. So, like, this guy saying the truth never makes... it's because he's in a bubble.
It only exhilarates me.
I mean...
I'm sure it's all very exhilarating, because the only things he will even touch are things that validate his bullshit.
No matter where it's, on whatever side it is.
Yeah.
And, since the Democrats and Republicans are now trying to get rid of Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which basically makes the internet possible as a social space and a space for independent journalism and commentary and stuff, we can all potentially look forward to a media ecosystem that is made up of people like this. Because if they do that, that's like all we're gonna have. The Senate Judiciary Democrats were on their Twitter account bragging about how they're actually getting ready to just join with the Republicans to just kill the fucking internet. Well, kill everything that's worthwhile about it anyway. The internet will still be a home for Ana Transphobian and Bill Maher. That is not in question. Big money likes Ana Transphobian and Bill Maher, or we would never have heard of them.
And
you want to talk about a little bit of truth in Gaza then? You want to get exhilarated right now?
Yeah, I mean, she's calling out his bullshit too. I mean, okay, so let's do it. Okay, let's see that. Let's see him experience exhilaration.
I can exhilarate you.
I know you're going to say...
Yeah, but I mean, it's not... I don't know that I would necessarily say that the ongoing genocide is exactly ha-ha funny.
Genocide, and I'm going to say, well, you don't know what the word means.
And anyone who knows what the word means is going to say, look, here's the definition, here's what literally everybody who is a specialist in the field has said.
And it's like, if you don't even know what the words mean...
This is a really bold statement, since at this point, like, everyone who is anyone in the areas of international law and genocide studies and international human rights have all said this is a genocide, obviously. So, like, it's like, the only people in the room who actually know what the word means are Bill Maher and fucking Itamar Ben-Gvir.
I'm Armenian. I know what the word means.
Right.
Yeah, and she's Armenian. She knows what the word means, and she has spent her entire career, or much of it anyway, on a show named after the people who did the fucking Armenian genocide.
Okay, it's when you try to wipe out an entire population of people, which they didn't come close to doing.
I mean...
That's actually not... Like, you could at least look up the definition, Bill.
They prosecuted a war in which they were attacked, which everybody gets to do.
No, actually, no.
By the way, let me just say, if they were literally going after Hamas,
which they
that
were.
Is legitimate.
No, I mean, they weren't.
That's totally legitimate.
No, it isn't, actually. They're not allowed to defend themselves against a population they are occupying.
But that's not what's happening.
Hamas hides in tunnels underneath hospitals.
No, they don't. Like, this motherfucker, he is so fucking truth-pilled. And he's just, and he opens his mouth, and it's like, and it's just the stalest fucking Israeli propaganda from a year ago that was debunked ages ago. It's like that Sublime song. You know, the one everybody knows where it's like, I got my Dalmatian, and I can still get high, and I can play the guitar like a motherfucking riot. And you think, okay, and if you've listened to this only for the first time, you think there's going to be some really kick-ass guitar coming after this. And it's the most basic shit ever. That's Bill Maher. That's Bill Maher when he's going to drop some truth on you.
You can't.
Except that it was very basic guitar, but it was still competent.
Hold on.
Hamas is
But
the
Bill-
bad guy. If you don't get that,
No.
you don't get much.
Well, this is the guy who is saying that he goes out of the way to expose himself to information that makes him uncomfortable, and all he's got here is Hamas bad.
What Hamas did on October 7th was disgusting. Killing. I mean, I don't at all hold back on that. In fact,
Well, that's the easiest thing in the world to say.
I mean,
Nobody
I
disagrees.
agree. There are
Nobody
people,
disagrees
There
that
are people who disagree, actually.
raping
Oh, I mean, he is towing the fash line, and he has for a long time. I mean, I used to listen to him back 20 years ago after 9/11 because I had a lot of respect for the fact that he got thrown out of his job on, I think it was ABC at the time, because he made the very elementary point that actually firing cruise missiles at civilians from thousands of miles away is not a particularly brave thing to do. And I had a lot of respect for that, and so I started listening to him. And my respect vanished very quickly because he's like extremely anti-Muslim, and he had this documentary called Religulous a long time ago, where he platformed a Dutch neo-Nazi as an Islam expert. I mean, he is fash.
Yes, there are.
There are people who think I'm wrong because Hamas, they're freedom fighters. What kind of freedom are we talking about here?
Well, freedom from occupation, maybe.
The people see Hamas, the people who hate oppression so much, are on the side of the people, and that's not just Hamas. If you social justice warriors, if you have any other issue,
God, I mean, he's using like fucking Nazi buzzwords from 10 years ago because he keeps it fresh.
Besides gender apartheid in the world that is above that, you're just a joke.
Well, he found a kind of apartheid he's against. That's cute.
If you hate oppression, there is one issue.
Yeah, we've seen her hating oppression. She's very ambivalent about oppression.
Which should be above all because it affects more people, hundreds of millions.
And him talking about being claiming to support women's rights all of a sudden again. He's made his career over some of the most openly misogynistic comedy I've ever seen. I've actually listened to Andrew Dice Clay.
Basically, no freedom in the Muslim world.
Right. So we should
wait. The entire this is okay. So the entire Muslim world, all of it, like what does that even mean?
slaughter them instead, which is what's been happening.
Well, you should prosecute a war to the end.
Mm-hmm.
That does involve slaughter of every war. You know.
I think. Listen, civilians get killed in wars. I think everyone knows that. Everyone acknowledges that.
Especially when you especially when you hide behind them.
Yeah, but they don't. Like, there is absolutely no evidence. Like, you can actually. This is something that is common ground between the footage released by Israel and the footage released by the Resistance. You can actually watch. In Israel's footage, their supposed combat footage, you never see fighters. Never. You never see them taking fire. You never see any sign that anyone is armed other than the IDF. And in the footage that you see from the Resistance, you never see civilians. You see completely deserted, like, ghost towns where it's them and the IDF doesn't know what the fuck is coming. And that is consistent with what you hear when you actually talk to people on the ground, because the way it works is that when Israel goes into an area, everybody who isn't ready to pick up a weapon runs like hell to the nearest like relatively safe area, which is very relative. And once that happens, then the resistance comes out. They wait until their people are actually out of the area, and then they start targeting the IDF.
But when 83%, according to the IDF's own data, and this is reported, by the way, I consume Israeli media on this. I don't consume American media on this. And Israeli media...
No, she only consumes Israeli media. No, which also yeah, but of course she clearly does not consume a whole... She's very selective about the Israeli media that she consumes, because if she hadn't, if she actually read Haaretz and a number of others, she would already have reason to doubt what she's saying about the 7th of October, because Israeli media has actually covered a lot of that stuff much more comprehensively than just about any place else. I mean, they debunked a lot of the fucking atrocity myths that people like Bill Maher... I haven't heard him peddling them, but I would not be surprised if he did, because it seems like every other bit of Israeli propaganda he will happily just regurgitate.
Super honest, way more honest than our media is. So when
that doesn't say much.
IDF's own data indicates that 83% of the people that they've killed are civilians.
Because they hide behind them.
But Bill...
That's not how that works. Like, here's the thing, I mean, this is the thing Francesca Albanese has pointed out from a legal standpoint. The whole point of human shields, the whole point of the prohibition on human shields, is that you're not supposed to attack them. It doesn't justify, even, like, there's no evidence of what he's saying. It is a lie. Maybe not a knowing lie on his part, because I absolutely am willing to credit him for being completely ignorant on this subject and only consuming the most utterly raw propaganda from the IDF. But it's not true. But the thing is, if there were any reason, the whole point of actually using human shields, which the IDF does, like the IDF has an officially acknowledged policy of doing it. They call it the neighbor procedure. And the whole point of it is that you obtain a tactical advantage because the other side won't fire on you because you have a protected person or object in front of you. That's the whole point of it. But the thing is, there is absolutely... Israel does not recognize any protected persons or objects. So why the fuck would anyone bother? Like, what would even the point be? Like, so...
Do you understand that by killing so many civilians, they are essentially multiplying extremism?
I do understand that. Do you understand that there's very often in the world two very bad choices?
And somehow Bill will find a way to choose both of them.
I mean, I'm an American. I have to vote in presidential elections. Yes, I do know that.
Okay, you don't have the good choice.
Mm-hmm.
You have the bad choice and the even worse choice.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they do it quite openly, and yeah, there's tons of footage because it's an openly acknowledged procedure. They just send people in. They will just abduct some civilian, tie them up, and make them fucking walk point so that the resistance won't take a shot at them. I mean, it is just the most cowardly, vilest shit ever. And Bill Maher loves it.
Israel has been being attacked by Hamas. First of all, the entire Arab world rejected them for 75 years.
Well, I mean, because they invaded the Arab world and imposed themselves by force. Like, I mean, what, that's supposed to endear them, is it?
They kept trying to make a deal. They kept saying, no,
that's not true.
We want it all. That's what from the river to the sea means. It means we want
that's the Likud charter, actually, from the river to the sea. It's right in there. Like, I mean, he's talking about, they want the Arabs, they want it all. Israel is occupying a fifth of Syria. They're occupying a substantial amount of Lebanon. every like 5 minutes it seems, they are moving the so-called yellow line to literally push Palestinians in Gaza into the sea. But it's the Arabs who are maximalist.
Oh, we don't want to compromise. They've never wanted a compromise. Israel gave Gaza back.
But did they?
No, they didn't.
But
Gave
Bill.
it back.
But Bill.
They put him under siege. Like, they surrounded them in fucking barbed wire. Gave Gaza back. Shut the fuck up.
2000.
Like, it wasn't theirs to give in the first place.
Let's say our country was occupied by Mexico, right? We have a bunch of people who are occupying.
I mean, which is just wild because the U.S. is occupying Mexico, although Mexico and the U.S. are both occupying indigenous territory.
Land. And then they decide,
Well, it's
you know
not
what, we're going to
your
hold on,
land,
let
and
me
they
finish.
weren't occupying
Let me
it.
finish. Let's say Mexico decides, you know what, we're going
They were occupying it, though. Like, he's gonna deny that.
to leave, but we're going to control their electricity, what goes in, what comes out.
Because they were attacking
We're going to
them.
mow the lawn and just like randomly decide we're going to slaughter people because they allegedly threw rocks. They have literally
Well, they
nuclear.
didn't allegedly.
I mean, Israel has nuclear weapons, Bill. They have nuclear weapons.
And they don't. And
they
that's
have the world's
right.
military superpower backing them.
Right. Well, they have.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's he gonna? What the fuck's he even gonna say?
Nuclear weapons which they don't use.
Well, of course they don't fucking use them when in Palestine, because if they drop them on any part of Palestine, they will render all of Palestine, including the part that they mostly live on, uninhabitable. So yeah, no, they use them for threats.
If Hamas
No, they don't use it. But
just
to pretend
if
like
if Hamas had a nuclear weapon, how many seconds would it take before they used it on Israel?
I don't think you could measure it in seconds, because I don't think they would do it, because they want to return to their homes, and they can't return to their homes if they have to wait frickin' 100,000 years for the radiation to wear off.
I have no idea.
3.
Wow, he knows this for a fact. It would be 3. Like, that's amazing. What research went into this?
3's the answer. 3 seconds.
Wow. I mean, he's very certain about this. What, did fucking Geert Wilders tell him this?
How do you know that, Bill?
He doesn't. He doesn't know shit. Neither of you do.
Come on.
Because it's in their charter.
If they use
No, it isn't. Right. It's in their charter that they would use a nuclear weapon within 3 seconds. Quote, what section of the charter is the 3-second nuclear weapon warning bit in?
a nuclear weapon against Israel, I'm pretty sure the very land that Hamas cares about would be done for.
Okay.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Well, then they would be martyrs, and that would be a good thing.
No. God.
Because that's their death cult view of the world.
Motherfucker, you're sitting here justifying this genocide, and you accuse other people of having a death cult. Like, the regime that he's sitting here standing has the Hannibal doctrine, and will actually murder its own people rather than having to negotiate for their release as POWs. But it's the other people who have a death cult.
It's a good thing when you die. That's why they strap suicide vests sometimes on children.
Well, first of all, no. But second of all, when was the last time they did that, Bill? Could you tell us when they did that most recently? Because it's been a long time, and if you actually read what intellectuals within the resistance, within Hamas, within Sarai al-Quds, and PIJ, and the rest of them, and you read what they have to say about those explosive vests, what they say is they were in a situation where they could make explosives, but they had no way to deliver them. The only thing they could do was hand deliver them. So that was a thing that they chose to do because their policy on resistance is they have to always be doing something to resist the occupation. So the minute their technology actually got to the point where they didn't have to do that, where they actually had delivery systems that allowed them to do it from a safe distance, so that their fighters could actually return alive from their operations, so that they immediately adopted that, which is why you do not see them doing that, and haven't seen them doing it for like decades now. What the fuck is he talking about? What decade did he just come in from?
The fact that you can't see the moral difference between these two sides always amazes me among people.
I mean, it's actually, I mean, the moral difference is fairly clear. You have an indigenous resistance movement, and you have people who are trying to exterminate an indigenous population. The moral difference is not exactly hard to see, Bill. You're just on the wrong fucking side of it.
I actually don't see the moral difference when you have like Bezalel Smotrich and Ben Gvir literally talking about
Bezalel.
exterminating the entire population of Gaza.
Okay,
I
they're
mean,
not
I-
talking...
And Gallant, and Herzog, and Lapid, like, and the so-called opposition.
about
And these are not.
They're not saying anything about exterminating. They're literally using that word. They have children. There's a song called "We Are the Children of the Victory Generation." Anachnu Yeladei Dor HaNitzachon. It's called, and it's these little kids. This was shown on Israeli state TV, and this was in like fall 2023. This was on there, and the refrain of this song is, "In a year we will have exterminated them. There will be nothing left, and we will go back and plow our land in peace." Like, they had little kids singing about how they were going to exterminate them. Like, you don't manage to be this ignorant unless you have deliberately avoided knowing these things.
They are. I mean, the statements are brazen. They're upfront. They're honest. This is what they actually want to do.
Well,
I mean, the West Bank
considering
is
it's
another
in-
example.
it's in Hamas.
The West Bank had nothing to do with what happened on October 7th, but they're annexing that land anyway. They're raining terror on innocent people, innocent Palestinians. They're driving them out of their homes.
I mean, okay, let's see what he says about this, because, like, you really cannot actually make they're run by Hamas argument there.
Like, listen, I am willing to admit, because it's the truth, that what Hamas did on October 7th was a fucking atrocity.
Like, I mean, what specifically, though? Because there are lots of things that they're accused of on October 7th that it turns out did not happen. So, like, be specific. You're not doing anybody any fucking favor except Israel by just saying this sort of generality. Like, I mean, what was everything an atrocity? When they were, like, when they asked permission in some people's house before even taking a banana out of their fridge, was that an atrocity too? When the guy bonded with this old woman from Argentina, the Saray Al-Quds guy, because she had a poster of Lionel Messi, and he loves Messi, and she's from Argentina, and of course she loves Messi, and they posed together in a photo where she was holding his gun. Was that an atrocity too? Like, was it all, like, or are you talking about specific things, in which case, let's be very specific about them, because a lot of the shit that a lot of the atrocities that everyone thinks they know about on the 7th literally didn't happen. And if you pay attention to the Israeli media, you know this because they've talked about that.
Oh, wow.
Killing innocent people.
Who couldn't admit that?
But you have a difficulty.
Hey, you can't admit that. Bill, you can't admit that. You like literally demonstrated. Who can't admit that? You, for like the past 15 minutes. Like, who can't admit that? Motherfucker, you haven't admitted it yet.
Time, at least acknowledging the atrocities that have been committed against innocent civilians in Gaza.
Well, it depends on what you call an atrocity.
Oh, no, it depends what is. Jesus, this guy. Like...
All wars are going to have atrocities.
A double tap on...
Oh, well, all wars are going to have atrocities, so obviously there's no reason to oppose... Wait, so all wars are going to have atrocities is okay when Israel kills a couple of 100,000 people, destroys all the hospitals, all the universities, all the schools, most of the housing, all the agricultural land. All wars are going to have atrocities sometimes. En la guerra hay bajas, weón. En la guerra hay bajas. Well, but if you're uncomfortable with the speed with which the resistance defeated the Gaza division on the 7th of October, that's unforgivable.
A hospital?
All war.
A double tap on a hospital? So when
Oh, well, like, what do you mean a double tap on a hospital? Multiple taps on all the hospitals.
the first
of all,
responders show up?
I don't know exactly what you're talking about.
Of course you do. I mean, because if you actually admitted you knew, you would have to actually justify it specifically, and you don't want to do that.
I vaguely remember the thing.
Right.
Yeah, first of all, that's an old terrorist trick.
So, okay, so what? It's your guys doing it. And it's also an old, like, fucking Barack Obama trick. But, I mean, that was a whole thing during the drone terror in those years, where the U.S. would drone attack some, like, wedding party or fucking school or whatever, and then wait until the first responders showed up, the emergency workers and, you know, concerned loved ones, and then fire off another shot.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do all the time.
What? Oh, yeah. That. Who's they, Bill? Because we're talking about you were talking about your guys.
Okay, but are you at least going to acknowledge that the IDF doing that was wrong?
Yeah, I'm sure they have committed what we would call war crimes.
I'm sure they have committed what we would call war crimes. Well, you know, whomst among us? Sometimes you got a war crime.
Every army does in every war.
Right, including our own. Right.
In every war, including the Civil War.
Which side is he? I
forget who it was who made the good point. Like, during the Civil War, a lot of people would say, especially in the South, that Sherman did not have to burn Atlanta quite as badly as he did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, counterpoint, he didn't do enough. Counterpoint, you look at the motherfuckers, just how fucking, up themselves right-wing, reactionary, good old boy motherfuckers from the South are right now. I mean, not just the South, the North too, but yeah, also a fair number of them in the South. And to be clear, I'm not saying that's everybody. I'm saying the ones who are. The one, they're not enough plantations were burned to the ground. They should, like, all that shit should have been burned down.
I mean, we were pretty brutal. But would you also then just say, well, we don't know who the good guys were in that war? No, I think it was...
Well, I mean, who's saying we don't know who the good guys are in the Gaza genocide?
The North. I think that they committed the atrocity in Atlanta. Yeah, that's true. They burned when they shouldn't have. They were very rough on the South.
Well, fucking, that's so terrible. They were very rough on... I wonder if the South was rough on anybody.
Still the good guys. They were fighting against slavery as Israel is fighting to survive. And also, you know, they are the front line in the Western world.
You know, what so they're fighting for slavery then?
Totally disagree with you on this entirely. I think much of the problems we have in the Middle East is due to the enabling of this Look, it's an expansionist policy.
But I mean, Bill's fine with a bit of Lebensraum.
If Israel wasn't trying to continue expanding in the Middle East,
there still would be the problem that it is a colonial racist regime, even within the territory that that is recognized as belonging to it under international law.
So
I don't think they would be dealing with the enemies that they're dealing with.
They've never been asked. They've never been trying to expand.
Yes, they've never been trying to. What they did it by fucking accident. They just happened to occupy the Golan Heights, the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, East Jerusalem, the Sinai for a while. They just by accident. They weren't trying.
It's the West Bank right now, and Lebanon, southern Lebanon, and Syria, which they've succeeded in.
These are all places that they were attacked from.
They weren't attacked from Syria.
When they became a country in 1947, they said...
1948, actually, and...
Okay, we will accept half a loaf. They had as...
No, they didn't. They actually rejected the partition plan.
Right to that land as anybody.
No, they don't. They very specifically have less right to that land than the indigenous population who already lived there.
Was a continual presence there since 1000 BC when King David had a kingdom.
I don't care about that.
Yeah, nobody gives a shit. In fact, Palestinian Jews, it's worth noting, were some of the early targets of the Zionist death squads very early on in Zionist colonization of Palestine, because Palestinian Jews were pissed off at the way that Zionism was ruining their relations with their Muslim and Christian neighbors.
Oh, okay, but it's relevant.
But you can't.
It's
You
relevant
can't,
to people. It's
you
relevant
can't
to.
wipe out innocent people
But
because
you're
you used to
calling them-
live there
you're
like
calling them-
centuries
You're
ago.
calling them colonizers.
But they are colonizers. Like, I mean, the Zionist movement openly calls itself a colonial movement.
They're not colonizers.
They're expanding. And
You're acquitting them of a charge they pleaded guilty to.
and they're annexing land. That's what colonizers
Okay,
do.
first of all,
Christ. Skipping over this crap.
below. Then they were attacked in 19. Excuse me.
It's way more complicated than that, but it's okay.
Well,
Go
I
on.
don't know if you know the history.
Well, I mean, we know that Bill doesn't.
I do really well.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me the war.
So, for instance,
when
one
were
of
they?
the
When were
issues-
they attacked? What
Okay,
wars?
so in 1967.
Actually, it's funny that he says, when were they attacked? What wars? There is a book by a guy by the name of... let me just... Ze'ev Ma'oz. I had to just check his first name. Called Defending the Holy Land. It is a scholarly history. It is an authoritative and comprehensive scholarly military history of Israel. Written by an extremely, one of the, pillars of the military and, military history and security establishment of Israel. This guy has all the mainstream cred you could possibly ask for within Zionist society. And so what he did is he set out in this book, which is a bit old now, but I mean, there's nothing in there that you could fundamentally revise. And he wanted to look at the scholarly consensus on every single armed conflict Israel has been involved in since it came into existence, since the Nakba in 1948. And his conclusions were not his conclusions. He was summarizing the conclusions of all of the available scholarship. It was like a meta-analysis almost. And the conclusion was, and I practically know it by heart, that he divided wars. The terminology he used was like Zionist strategic studies terminology. So he says there are wars of necessity, wars of choice, and wars of folly. And he said in the entire history of the state, with what he calls the possible exception of 1948, every single war has been a war of choice or a war of folly. Now, in other words, by definition, a war of choice is not a war where you are attacked first. A war of choice, in the terminology that he uses, is a war that Israel started. And he was saying that you can't even really grant that for 1948. And the reason you can't really grant that for 1948 is because Israel started the Nakba before the Arab armies started to try to defend the civilian population there.
When
that was the first time?
No, that wasn't the first time.
When was it?
But when you say that they have offered land to the Palestinians,
Which is not true.
That belonged to them in the first place,
It didn't belong solely to them.
The whole point of this
Yes, it did.
whole two-state solution was, okay, we'll give you this territory if you promise not to militarize.
Which is literally if you promise not to have an actual state. Israel's not going to demilitarize. If a demilitarized state next to an expansionist, genocidal, racist, colonial regime is just saying you get to pretend to have a country until we decide we want that land.
military, you don't have a country. You don't have a country without a military. You don't have a country without borders, right? Without a military, you can't defend your borders. So if I were engaging in these negotiations with the Israelis, I would say, listen, I respect the territory that you're offering. However,
why would you respect it? It is less than 20% of the territory of historic Palestine, and getting smaller all the time.
we need to militarize. We need to protect our borders. To me, that's a big thing.
But that's not what they ever used it for.
Yes, that is literally what they used it for. Because the thing is, their borders include the area that was invaded in order to make Israel. Hey, Riveroon.
Again, they gave Gaza back in 2005.
No, they didn't.
They could have
They
chosen...
didn't give Gaza back into. They left Gaza, but didn't really leave Gaza when they have complete control over the territory.
Because they kept being attacked.
So they maintained complete control over the territory because of attacks that necessarily came after they retained complete control of the territory. They have to retain control of the Gaza Strip, which they have illegally occupied, because they're being attacked by people who are trying to kick them out of the Gaza Strip that they have illegally occupied. The fact that people are resisting their occupation is justification for their occupation, you see. Like, this is the level on which this argument is taking place.
Just let me finish one sentence.
Go ahead.
They could have turned...
Like, could you have a worthwhile sentence? We're 55 minutes into this, you haven't had one yet. I mean, although I will say the time that he was talking about his wonderful sleepover with Matt Gaetz, and how they both talked about what wonderful guys they are, because he's fucking hipster Islamophobic white misogynist doofus, and Matt Gaetz is a white nationalist sex pest, and they can have conversations, and it's very civil. As L.A. burned, I mean, that was a worthwhile sentence because it was just the level of symbolism was amazing. I will give him that one.
Gaza into a state that was much more like, I don't know, Dubai or something.
Wait, like Dubai. So what so with slavery, he wants slavery, and a place for like international arms traffickers and money launderers to hang out.
If they wanted to.
What do you mean? If they wanted to, they still would have to deal with the fact that they were under siege.
Hamas took over right away. They never...
Yeah, they won an election. That's kind of how those work.
Never had elections after that.
Because Israel didn't let them.
They were
You're right about that. You're right about the elections.
No, I mean, he's not right about that. God, she's... Like, I mean... She manages, even when she almost has a point, even when she is somehow partially on the right side of an issue, she manages to make you want to tell her to shut the fuck up, because she says shit like this. Like, who chose for to not to allow elections? Who decided that the elections would be disregarded in the West Bank? Who decided that Mahmoud Abbas should now be in like the 20th year of his 5-year term as the head of Israel's Palestinian Authority? That wasn't the Palestinians. They've been trying to have elections. Israel won't let them because Israel lost the last ones.
Terrorist mafia, their own population is terrorized by them.
Their own population overwhelmingly supports them.
They don't like them. All they did was import weapons from Iran.
No, they didn't, actually. I mean, they actually mostly build their own.
Build tunnels and use it to prosecute this war against Israel.
Yeah, you mean the occupier. Isn't that so weird how when you occupy somebody's territory, people want to fight you?
They never used it. So of course Israel is going to be...
You missed Ana Transphobian talking about how she's a fucking sex pest too, because somehow she can't go into a changing room without staring at people's genitals.
Defensive. Their issue was they were not defensive enough, which is why October 7th happened.
They're still not defensive. Like, they don't they literally brag about the fact that they do not train in defensive tactics. And you can tell because they do not know how to actually face an army. They only know how to fucking shoot at little kids and old women.
So you're making good points.
No, he isn't. He like, shut the fuck up, Anna. What he's saying is absolute, like, it is just factually wrong.
I'm going to concede to some of them.
You shouldn't, because none of the things he said is true.
Not all of them, but...
Well, thank fuck for that. Okay, so which of his absolutely bullshit points are you going to concede, and which ones are you going to acknowledge are bullshit?
But
No, I don't even know why
Bill,
you want to talk about this.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone wants to talk with you about anything, Bill. You should just be fucking thankful that there are people whose standards are this low.
I know. I'll ask you one more question.
It's frustrating because the...
Hey, oh god, it's so frustrating when you defend a genocide against somebody who doesn't like genocide.
My problem is, okay, even if I concede entirely to everything you're saying, how about a little bit of ire directed toward Benjamin Netanyahu, who's the guy who facilitated the funding and has...
That is not true. Okay, so, like, the thing that she's saying here is just bullshit.
Totally admitted to facilitating the funding of Hamas.
No, he didn't, actually, and quite correctly he didn't admit to that, because that's not what this was. The money going to Qatar was money earmarked for Palestinians from Gaza who were able to work in Israel under a guest worker scheme. The money had to go through Hamas because Hamas is the local government. But the money went to these workers. Like, this was not funding Hamas. Hamas's only role was as a conduit. They're the ones distributing it because it has to go through... Because Israel refuses to have any direct financial ties with Gaza.
Why did he prop up Hamas?
He didn't.
Because he wanted to essentially discredit the PLO.
Wow, but that didn't work. Like, I mean, he didn't want to discredit the fucking... Like, first of all, she's talking about the PLO. What is this, 1985? Like, I mean, what she's talking about is the PA. The PA literally works for Israel. He's not trying to discredit the PA. Like, I mean, like, Jesus. Anna, read a fucking book.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of whatabouts you can say.
Like, I mean, like, some people would say that the genocide is bad, and you could do a whatabout about that. But I think the genocide is good, because I'm a piece of shit.
Whataboutism? The very man who propped up Hamas is now
No, he isn't.
saying that he needs to fight them. And now he's also funding Abu Shabab. Why are you funding Abu Shabab?
Well, yeah, well, actually, by the time she said this, Abu Shababn't. That particular traitor is dead. But the reason that that illiterate ISIS-linked drug gang leader Yasser Abu Shabab was on the Israeli payroll was because he was terrorizing the local communities and looting aid. I mean, those were the things he was doing. That's why he was disowned by his own family. His own family put out a statement when he first emerged as the head of this fucking gang, saying we have nothing to do with him, we disown him completely, we call on the resistance to deal with him, and we will do so, and if he falls in our hands, we will do the same. Something to that effect. It's been a while since I read it. But...
who's also, who has ties to ISIS?
These things are not wrong. It just looks like you're looking for something to make a false equivalency.
A false I mean, it is so wild that he thinks that somebody would be aspiring to make a false equivalency between Israel and the Palestinians. Like being equivalent with Israel is something that people should aspire to. Like, yeah, because, I mean, being morally equivalent to Israel is just a great thing.
This is what I want. I want Palestinians to live in their own territory, I want them to be able to govern themselves. I want Israelis to live in peace and
Like, what do you mean by in their own territory? Like, the whole thing is their own territory.
safety.
Then
and
stop
we're
attacking
never
them.
Good,
Then
I'm
stop
gonna attack them
attacking
as
them.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Like, the majority, like, I mean, let's just note on and all of this that the polls show the absolute majority, I mean, overwhelming majority of Jewish Israelis want the genocide to just continue until there are no Palestinians left.
As long as they're doing what they're currently
They're doing in retaliation for
It's not
being
retaliation.
attacked. Of
No, they're not being attacked. Like, he said this is recent. What day was this? How many days ago? Because, okay, there's been a so-called ceasefire. This is 5 days ago. There's been a so-called ceasefire for like 2 months now. During that time, the Palestinian resistance has not actually carried out any attacks. They have ceased firing. Israel has killed like 500 people.
Of course it is. They've been attacked. They were encircled. Lebanon. Why are they in Lebanon? Because
Well, I mean, their stated reason is they don't consider it a real country and they want to settle it.
Hezbollah was attacking from there.
right.
In support of the Palestinian resistance, which they actually have every right to do.
In response to what they're doing in Gaza, yes.
Well before that.
No, not well before that, Bill. Not well before that. Literally, they started then. Literally, they started when the genocide started.
4 wars there.
Yeah. Those involved kicking Israel out of Lebanon the last time, Bill. It turns out that when you occupy other people's countries, sometimes when you invade other people's countries, Bill, one thing that happens is that there are these guys with guns who show up to suggest that maybe you might want to find another place to be. Like, they fought 4 wars against Hezbollah. Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you keep invading another person's country. They end up, like, fighting back and kicking you out. And Israel got wrecked in those fucking wars. And I just noticed the time. It is time to wrap up. By the way, if anyone wants to find out more about that book that I was mentioning, the one where a very mainstream Zionist security establishment person basically said that all of Israel's wars have been wars of aggression, I'm linking that right here. Thank you to everyone who joined in. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and I hope you're feeling better soon too, Riveroon. Always good to see you. Always good to see you as well, Badger. And if you enjoy the stream, I will be back next week at 11:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time on Friday. Meanwhile, in between streams, you can always find me here. I'm not always great at responding, I will admit. Actually kind of shit about that, because I don't always check Discord. But that's the Seagull Discord server. Have a good night, have a good rest of your weekend.